Thanks for joining us again. I'm Sadie Anderson, and this is Cassie Graham, and we are just sitting down with Pastor Josh and asking some questions that I know that we had, and we feel certain that you have also.
Sure.
So thanks for taking the time to learn about this.
Yeah.
Josh, you've mentioned a couple of times about feeding into 100 people in here. Mm-hmm. How are those 100 people chosen?
Yeah.
Is that 100 individuals? Is that 100 families? Do they volunteer? Do you call them out? What's your thoughts on that?
All of it.
Okay.
All of it. Some of it's self-identification.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it's me just, saying, hey, I think this person would be a good fit. Ultimately, it's each individual's choice.
Okay.
We're talking about individuals. Of course, some of them will be a couple, but they each have their own bias and bent and strategies and minds and goals and, callings that are unique to each of them. And that 100 came at a point in time where we were getting ready to regather. And this kind of stirring inside of me to do something that I felt like should have been happening all along was attached to a number. And the idea of multiplying. And it did multiple things, actually. I know there are people who miss the gathering together in a certain way, while we're also seeing that that's being redefined and it's outside of our control. At the same time, we have to understand that there are, I'll put it into two categories. There are things that we can make on demand, Sunday morning podcasts, these interviews. People can go back, they can get it on the app, they can watch it whenever they want, on demand. Yes. They can just download it.
Yep.
But I've learned over the years, all of Christianity isn't available on a download or on demand.
No. Right.
There is, through faith and patience, that we inherit the promises, that there are pauses, there are waiting moments, and there's nothing like being in the room when God is doing his thing. You guys would agree with that, right? Like there's something that God does when we're together that he doesn't do when we're apart. And so the idea of feeding into that 100 is to help bring them into an environment where they get clear on their calling, then they can multiply that out to others. I want to teach people and show people the power of those things. And it actually may grow. Maybe I've underestimated it. Maybe it's 200. Maybe it's 500. Maybe it's 1,000 people, right? But the first goal was, let's equip 100 people to reach 100 people and begin to feed the starfish model idea.
Yeah.
And let's go there with it. So it does a bunch of different things at the same time. And if someone's watching, they can certainly reach out to us, info@morelifechurch.com, and let us know, hey, I want to be one of the 100.
Yeah.
I know after and during the Starfish and the Spider series, we're going to be making that call really clear for people.
Good.
And I have it written on the board. Create an environment where people get clear on their calling. There isn't a lot of teaching involved in that. It's moments where I just help lead us into an environment of worship and prayer where people get clear for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? You have the Spirit of God living on the inside of you as a believer. There are times where you don't need someone to tell you what it is in specifics that you're to do.
Yeah.
You just need the courage to do what's already in your heart to do.
And you need that moment.
Oh, you got to have it.
Yeah.
You've got to have it. And when you've experienced that, you understand the power of it, that it transcends anything else. It's like, okay, whoa, God was in that moment. He's reinforcing this. He highlighted this. Truth be told, this church was born in Angie and I's heart out of an environment that I'm talking about. We got clear on our calling and we said yes.
Yeah.
And we have to have those moments.
Yeah.
On-demand moments are great, but non-downloadable moments are awesome. And I think where real growth and mobilization and discipleship happens.
And it's just a part of the cycle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that 100's going to increase because it's like I have the circle of life going in my head. But it's, as you were talking, like that's how more people, that's the
Yes.
That's the part.
So you had the song "Circle of Life" from The Lion King, which is funny because I had the song "The Room Where It Happened" from Hamilton in my mind. I'm like infatuated with the Hamilton musical right now, and there's a song where the lyrics are "I want to be in the room where it happens." So Aaron Burr is on the outside looking in. Jefferson, Madison, and Hamilton are negotiating for some different points of interest that they have, and Aaron Burr's on the outside looking in, and the lyrics are, "I want to be in the room where it happens." And I think that just resonates in so many ways that we do want to be in the room where it happens.
Yeah.
Right.
And we are committed to creating that. Like the whole going online for now as a season is not a forsaking of the assembling of ourselves together. It is a rethinking, a reinvention, and it's uncomfortable for all of us. I'll be the first to admit, I'd rather do what's easy and what's known. But I have to lead the charge and say, the easy and known, like it or not, I didn't make it happen this way. It's changing.
Yeah.
So we either are going to change with it, or we're going to become the dinosaur that none of us want to be. We're going to become obsolete, and none of us want to be that.
No.
We don't want that for our kids, you all's kids.
Right.
What if the church doesn't flex?
Yeah.
I don't want to be disrespectful in this, but I want to say that we see churches that are suffering because they didn't make an adjustment.
Right.
We, because we're hip, trendy, cool, and Josh is like in touch, or the church is in touch, we're not impervious to that. Like,
Right.
we're not
Right.
above that.
Exactly.
We could be the next dead church, but just don't know it yet.
Exactly.
And that's what we're avoiding.
Yeah. Taking that face step out. And
And it's going to be uncomfortable.
Oh,
That's
very,
what my husband and I have had through the week have had that conversation. Like, it is uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable for all of us. Taking that first step that we know we have to do, but it's right.
Yeah.
It's so right.
And don't mistake my passion for lack of discomfort.
Right. Exactly.
I'm the most uncomfortable person here. I promise you. I promise you. I get more feedback than anybody else.
Right.
I get more interaction than anybody else. And I'm a big boy. I'm fine. You don't have to feel sorry for me. I'm just saying I'm uncomfortable too. So just know that if you're uncomfortable, so am I. We are. But in that discomfort, I'm committed to leading a relevant 21st century church that Jesus had in mind when he looked at More Life Church and said, More Life Church be.
Yeah.
I have a small takeaway from that to challenge the
Please.
watchers.
Yeah.
The moment we're talking about, you just know in your heart that that's from him. Sit down, take some time, grab a journal,
Yes.
Get it
and
down.
write those moments down.
Yes.
So you can look back on them and say, hey, like, this was a moment I knew God was in this. This is another
Excellent.
moment. And you will be overwhelmed by how many of those that you knew
Yes.
that was not you, that was not your husband's
Right.
advice, that was not the,
Right.
grandma's advice. That was from God.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And those are spaces that you can, when you're just having one of those, like, Pastor Josh has done a horrible job leading this.
No, he hasn't.
Look at those and say, no, God
Yeah.
has been faithful. And Josh has prayed through all of that. And it will be a good thing to really,
Foundation.
yes.
Can I
yes,
say
pull
something
yourself
also
back to.
about this? That I think that when it comes to authority and someone in charge, we as a group of people in society have grown comfortable with trying to find someone to be responsible for our own lives,
Yep.
to find someone responsible for our disobedience, our inertia, our lack of movement, it's like he, she, he, that. No. Like, why don't we take some ownership and personal responsibility? Like, I get that right now, it's a hot button item, but there are protests and there are people verbalizing their discontent in a way that I've never experienced.
Right.
I've never seen it. Like, they're saying, these are my rights, and there's a part of that I understand, and our rights are important, right? But as a believer, let's not confuse our rights with our responsibilities.
Exactly.
And let's not demand for one at the expense of the other.
Right.
Like, it'd be really cool if we had a march for responsibility taking.
Yeah.
We go down, I'm taking responsibility for my life. I'm taking responsibility for my life. Rather than like this abdication of responsibility. Like I am ridiculously in charge of my world and my kind of my calling and so on and so forth.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
If there's something, I say it to you this way, if there's something in our world that we don't like, ask the question, did I put it there?
Right.
Or am I letting it stay there?
Yeah.
Or can I move that thing out, the excuse, the attitude, the whatever? And if you can take ridiculous amounts of responsibility, watch and see how your life changes. It'll be marvelous. You'll love it.
It makes me laugh. Yesterday, I had Maverick bring me a toy, and he said, somebody broke this. And I remember interrupting what came out of his mouth, and I said, did somebody break it, or did you break it?
Yeah.
Now, it was somebody else, but I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
And those are foundations we can teach into our children.
Absolutely.
Right?
I love that.
And us modeling that for our kids right now of like praying about what can we do to help
Right.
this
Yes.
process move forward in a way to actually see growth and support our leadership from our church.
Sure.
Because
and
they're
beyond.
hearing us complain about it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
like if you, while you're talking, I'm thinking, well, how much time has my kiddos heard me complain about all that's going on? But
Yeah.
have they seen Jordy and I sit down and praying about?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
woo.
Let me say something about the complaint, because it's often looked at as a negative. And I think that I want to turn that and put it, spin that in a way that can really create life through the complaint. We all know the verse from Proverbs 29:18. It says, where there is no vision, the people perish, right? One translation says when people can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. So when they don't have clarity, they don't have any hope, right? But I would add to that, where there is no vision, the people perish. I would say this, where there is no complaint, the vision perishes.
Yeah.
Why do I say that? Almost every time I hear someone with a complaint, they don't realize it. And my assignment is to help them realize the thing you're complaining about, you have an answer for.
You can change it.
Like what you're seeing
Right.
is you being the answer to that. No vision is perfect. When you see the flaw and you have a complaint, awesome. That's okay. It doesn't make anyone a bad person. The question is, will you do something productive with that complaint to contribute to the overall picture of what God's trying to do? And the complaint may just be inching you toward that
change.
thing that's yours to do.
Yeah, it's good.
So as, say for instance, I'm one of the 100 or however many people step up.
Yeah.
I'm discipling some people through, we've had growth steps in the church
Yes.
in the past. Is that something that we're going to make available online for people? Because I know for me it helped. I know for
Oh my gosh.
Sadie it
Yeah.
helped. Just having that personality test and seeing like,
Yes.
where am I going to fall into it? I know where I fall, but I'm discipling some people that maybe don't. So are we
Yeah.
going to have that as a resource? And what other resources are we going to have?
So one of the things that I want to remind us about is the answer is yes.
Okay.
Yes to all of that.
Okay.
But then after saying a quick yes, keep in mind bandwidth, amount of ability is one of the reasons why we've made some dramatic changes, is so that we can be harnessing the power to get to 100% of our church, not just 20% or 15% or even 30, or even I would submit to you that 50% or even 75% isn't enough. The goal is 100, right? So those resources in different categories, for the lost, for the people who are in need of pastoring, people who need discipled, people who need mobilized, and growth steps is a 4-part process, which we are modifying right now.
Okay.
Here's what we saw. We're thinking through and praying through the action step for part 4 has always been Dream Team, right?
Yeah.
And it's been centered on what happens inside the 4 walls of
Right.
this church.
Right, yeah.
So this is exposed to us. That's kind of a challenge. We've created a rod for our own back. Earlier In one interview, we were discussing about don't compartmentalize, don't overthink this. But I think we've contributed to the overthinking by saying, hey,
Here's your gift, how you serve in the church.
Correct. We've eternally married those two things together. And one of the approaches is this. What about the person who hasn't yet stepped foot in the walls of a church? How can we help them make a difference and be on the dream team as a whole, at large?
Yes.
So like that, all those components are there, but just modified in speaking to that online on-demand approach, which says, hey, this, and this is going to help you do this. And the end game isn't only to serve on the parking team, which is brilliant, or the children's team, which is brilliant, or the greeter team, which is brilliant. But how can you make a difference on your job, in your family?
Every day.
Every single day. So like we're modifying and shifting that.
That's exciting.
I think it's going to be brilliant.
That is exciting.
Well, I know Sadie had mentioned, and I noticed it as well, like when I saw my husband's, his personality test and all of that, I'm like, oh. I've been married for you for 10 years, and now I get it.
Let me dive into that for a second. So there are two assessments. I'm an assessment nerd. I love assessments because I believe this. The more I can know about how God designed me through external helps like that, the more I can fulfill, the more adequately and the more confidently I can fulfill the call of God on my life. Like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not messed up. That's how he made me, right?
Exactly.
And so through personality profiles and gifts, surveys, where there's the most thorough spiritual gifts assessment I've seen, one of the things we're considering is adding Strengths Finder into that mix, which is an incredible resource to help people kind of know who they are and how to be released and empowered to live that life. So like those assessments, and we're going to be doing that. We're going to be making that available in a much broader way. I think it's going to help scores and scores of people. It's going to be awesome.
This is exciting.
That's awesome.
I am very excited about this.
Yeah.
I think this is good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Kind of talking about growth steps, other things that we're used to doing in here and then going.
Yes.
What are thoughts about connect groups?
Yeah.
Either this fall or moving forward. What are your thoughts?
So I've tasked Pastor Larry with groups, but I kind of want to caution people in this, that when you revert back to old wineskins, you have an expectation, right, of what that's going to look like. I've tasked Pastor Larry in seven different areas to find a leader for these 7 key things that we believe are going to contribute most to people's spiritual journey, and then expand from there. So men, women, students, freedom groups, outreach groups, so on and so forth, where there are 7 key categories. Marriage is one of them. So like finding leaders for those and encouraging that action step. But like, I don't know if it's going to be, okay, you sign up for this group like we used to.
Right.
Here's what everyone will quickly see. All human beings group.
Yeah. Naturally.
Until you say, join a connect group.
Yeah.
And then they disgroup. They disband. Like, oh, I don't want to do that. But everywhere you go, you go to dinner with a handful of couples. You have a handful of people that are your circle of friends. We talked about sports and things, or work. Like, people naturally group, and then the church messes it all up because we say, okay, guys, now let's get together and group up. And everybody's like, I don't want to do what I'm told to do. And it's like, we want to harness the natural behavior of people to just naturally group and make it organic and normal.
Exactly.
Not like, would you please come to my connect group that we're doing at the church, please? Nobody's going to accept that invitation, right?
Go sign up at that table out there.
We need your first and last name and your mother's maiden name and the last 4 digits of your social security number. Get you right in the group.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, we make it so weird. And so those areas are the ones that we think are crucial. Whereas then there's going to be no micromanagement.
Right.
People are going to freak out about no micromanagement. Like church people are used to being micromanaged. I don't know what to do until someone tells me what to do.
It's more comfortable.
Oh yeah. If you tell me what to do and it doesn't work, then it's your fault, Cindy.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that responsibility thing?
Exactly.
Search for our responsibility.
Exactly. So that's we're working through that, and those are going to be. Here's the goal. At the end of it, those groupings are going to be the most life-giving that they've ever been. That's our commitment to give you the most life-giving experience and opportunity that we've ever delivered as a church family.
Yeah,
that's encouraging,
good.
exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Josh.
Absolutely.
And thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
There will be more to come, so keep an eye out.
See you guys.